Hey everyone, welcome to the Associate Heroes podcast show. I'm your host, DJ Mikey D, and today's episode is a heavy one for me. I need to talk about something that's been weighing on my heart. This show is dedicated to my very good friend, my brother, a war hero, Sergeant William Richard Nash. We served together at Fort Polk, Louisiana, and in Afghanistan back in 2008. I just found out he passed away in November of 2025. I don't know the details, I don't know the circumstances, and that brings a profound grief to my heart. Since I got out of the Army in 2018, I can't even count how many of my battle buddies have died since we served. Some from natural causes, many, far too many, by suicide. Others fell victim to drugs, alcohol, homelessness, the list just goes on and on. It's very troubling. And it makes me ask, are we doing enough for our heroes? This is DJ Mikey D. Let's discuss it. You know, being called a war hero, it honors courage under fire, it's a badge of honor, but that label, it can obscure the long-term costs so many of us carry after we take off the uniform. Beyond the visible wounds, beyond the medals, there's chronic pain, traumatic brain injury, TBI, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, social and economic disruption, and critically, a disproportionately high burden of suicide. The human toll of war does not end on the battlefield. For so many veterans, it appears later, in ways that the statistics are only just beginning to fully capture. Let's talk numbers. Veteran suicide totals remain alarmingly high. Recent reports from the Department of Veterans Affairs show roughly 6,000 veteran suicides per year in the late 2010s and early 2020s. That's on the order of 16 to 18 veteran deaths by suicide every single day. Now, compare that to annual U.S. combat fatalities in recent years, which have been far lower. This means, over time, more U.S. veterans die by suicide after leaving service than were killed in combat in many recent years. Let that sink in. That is a sobering, heartbreaking indicator that the post-service risks, the hidden battles, can actually exceed the battlefield fatalities. So, what's driving this? It's several things all interacting. Mental health issues like PTSD and something called moral injury, the psychological distress after events that violate your moral code. Traumatic brain injury and chronic pain often together. Substance use, trying to cope, social and economic dislocation, feeling like you don't belong back home, struggling to find a job, a purpose. And then there are barriers to care. Stigma, long wait times, uneven access. Certain groups face even higher risk, veterans with multiple deployments, those with both TBI and PTSD, and our brothers and sisters experiencing homelessness. Suicide is the most acute outcome, the final tragedy, but the long-term harms are vast. Chronic disability, a diminished quality of life, family disruption, the burden on caregivers, lost economic productivity. These are secondary costs that ripple out, affecting entire communities. It tests the very social compact between the military and its veterans. Now policy and programs have expanded. We have crisis lines, outreach programs, and that's good. It's a start, but gaps remain, big ones. Access is still uneven. Wait times can be long. Stigma persists. That tough-it-out mentality is hard to shake, and a lot of programs focus on crisis response, which is vital. But what about upstream prevention, employment support, stable housing, building a life, not just surviving a crisis? So what can actually reduce this hidden cost? What works? First, early identification and integrated care. Treating mental health, TBI, and chronic pain together, not as separate issues. Broader social supports, real help with employment, education, housing, family services. Lethal means safety counseling, reducing access to the tools of suicide, expanding access to care that understands military culture, and continued investment in research. We need data to refine these interventions, to know what's actually saving lives. Here's the core of it. Honoring veterans requires more than ceremonies and medals. It requires confronting the long tail of harm that follows combat service. The fact that thousands of veterans die by suicide each year, a toll that, in many recent years, exceeds annual combat fatalities, that underscores that our country's debt to veterans is not fully paid at discharge. Preventing these deaths, giving warriors like my brother, Sergeant William Nash, a real chance at a safe, healthy life after service. It demands sustained, coordinated action. Across healthcare, social services, research, and community networks, we have to do better. We owe them that. For my brother, Sergeant Nash, and for all the other warriors. This is DJ Mikey D. Stay strong, reach out, and take care of each other. Please visit my all-new podcast show, AssociateHeroes.com, for mentorship and propelling discussions. Thank you for your love and support. Please share this podcast with anyone who needs to hear this message. Peace out, my friends, and much love.